Special recognition of Jason at Barnes& Noble for the graphics. You'll find the following podcast is filled with a lot of mutual love and respect. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, special thanks to Gary Adams for the Arkansas Hall of Fame golf t-shirt.
It's done with people with disabilities and particularly Parkinson. And I'm a little bit of a one-man band, as you can tell here, but it's nice to have you here because it's a little easier than trying to do it with Zoom. I know I had some issues. You didn't have issues, but last year was kind of funny. But the idea when I started putting this together is to provide some entertainment, but I also wanted to be informational and motivational.
Okay.
And we're sitting on some really tough bleachers here, I can tell.
Yeah.
So it's going. We want to get off the.
We definitely want to get off the bench here, don't we? Get in the game.
Yeah, and we want to be, inspiring content for people that's got anxiety and depression are the big things.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have anxiety and depression, that's one of the things I worry about. One of the things I usually try to bring something informational in each time, and one of the things I found that there was some doctors that we were having some issues, and my wife and I and a doctor said, let's go to Fayetteville and talk to someone over there. And so I went over there and I talked to I guess you'd call it psychiatrist. His title was neuropsychologicalist, and the thing there was his ability was to determine something like Parkinson's. He would say, the behavior and cognitive changes, and that's what his. But he didn't determine that. I didn't have the tremors like Michael J. Fox, and I think he just thought it was a mental or something else. So we kind of sit on that, and then I had some major back surgery, and that's when they put the titanium rod in, and then the doctor at UMS, and his name's Vermonti, he was really thorough at that time, and I couldn't be convinced hardly that I had Parkinson's, but we went on through some tests, and I determined that. But it would have been really great if that doctor had connected the dots at that time. That's one of the reasons I want to do the video and do these things is I want people to watch some of the patterns I've gone through, because it could be an issue later on, where people see this and say, well, I need to go have this checked a little bit better, because sometimes they just miss it, and that's what that doctor was supposed to be able to do. What I wanted to do to start with, I want to read the introductions on your book, and I'm going to practice this with reading with intent, and so I want to make that clear, and then I want you to think, and you be thinking about, there's a strong connection we have through Harrison, and I just got off the phone with Bud Grisham because I said what I was doing, because he always, he's 90-year-old, but he always appreciated it when I call him, so I called him and talked to him a while ago. But I'll read this, and then I'll let you give some thoughts on Harrison. It said, Sidney Moncrief has served on the board of directors for a Fortune 500 company and as president of various retail auto sales businesses. He is a Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Famer, a 5-time NBA All-Star, a 5-time member of the NBA All-Defensive Team, 2-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year. Now that's big. I'm gonna stop right there. But the Michael Jordans of the world and all those people, they didn't do that. And on NBA All-Pro. He is a former head coach and assistant coach. As a coach, Sidney Moncrief has served on the coaching staff of the Dallas Mavericks, Golden State Warriors, and the Milwaukee Bucks. He also led an international team as a head consultant in Beijing, China. Sidney is the author of 12 books, including Sidney Moncrief, My Journey to the NBA, Your Passport to Reinventing You, The Grit Factor in Leadership, and 13 Game-Changing Principles for Living Your Best Life Now. He's currently managing partner of Moncrief One Team. Moncrief One Team is a people development company providing development of sessions and keynotes in team enhancement, leadership, workplace readiness, soft skills, and entrepreneurship development. So,
Okay, here's the back of the book so that you can read it at your own pace, or at least you can see where that information came from.
before I let you talk about here, one thing caught my attention was the Beijing, China. Did you spend some time in Beijing? How much time?
Yeah, I
you
spent 18 months in Beijing.
spent? Okay.
First time I went over was 2009, and I was coaching for Golden State. I had gone over for 28 days to train their youth basketball team, develop a relationship with someone. I started coaching at Golden State.
Okay.
I get a call from my contact in Beijing, China, saying, Sidney, the chairman, he's the chairman of the steel company, he wants you to come and be a consultant for the Beijing Ducks. And we had a discussion about, I'm coaching in the NBA. What can be greater than that? Definitely not Chinese Basketball Association. And he said, I said, plus I'm making decent money. It's going to take a lot of money to get me to go and change what I'm doing. So
Sure.
how much will it take? I gave him a really big number. Then, the next day he called back and said, yeah, I think they'll do that. I said, okay, let me learn. Goodbye, Golden State Warriors. Hello, Beijing Ducks. So it was a good experience. It's the type of country, I think, as people know. You hear about China a lot, but until you go there and experience their sense of commerce, their system, economic system, the sheer size of the cities in China, because I traveled throughout China. We would go to a city, and I didn't know never heard of the city, and I was asked one of the players, how big is this city? And he said, it's not big, it's not big at all.
Yeah.
Well, how big? That's about 3 million people. I was
they're
looking
all
up.
big.
Now, seriously, if you're 3 million people in Beijing, you're not even. You're just a dot on the map. So I was just really impressed with the sheer size of the cities and how they operated, their commerce system and everything about it. It was probably the best learning experience I've had in my life.
I spent some time there, and I got a picture somewhere. Yeah, up here. I was on TV over there, but in Hangzhou, which is outside Shanghai, and I was real surprised how big a studio it was, and it was really kind of just an entertainment type show. I mean, it wasn't what you'd think. I mean, I thought at that time it was a Johnny Carson, Ed McMahon type thing, and you know, I was out there to taste the food, and of course I wasn't going to get it right, so you know they would make fun of that. But one of the things that's kind of interesting, maybe about my background, was that my first job out of college was at the CIA in Washington, and once I got into all this travel, it was kind of interesting that I had to keep that in the background, because I probably would have stayed over there a little longer if they knew that I'd been there. But yeah, I got to travel to a lot of those cities because they were trying to bring in the cable TV, and so like you said, there's a certain thing we had got a picture of that wasn't true once you got over there, because they had a lot of people that were doing well in those areas that you were in, and I know that there was a big guy that came over from China. Did you ever recruit anybody?
Oh yeah, I was responsible for recruiting at least 2 players
Okay.
the next year to come to Beijing for their team. I did a lousy job. I didn't pick the right players, so we didn't win as many games. But the other thing about China is how they camouflage so much that they're doing. As you know, how they're viewed by other countries from the outside is extremely important to them. I remember it was an anniversary for communism, and they made sure of the day of the parade, no one could come out, no one could hang out the windows and see the parade.
Right.
They only have military people lying in the streets, and they made sure that they created sunny skies with
Okay.
the explosions that they have in the clouds
Yeah.
to make sure it doesn't rain. And so they do a lot of different things to give the perception that they want the world to see. And I went post-Olympics.
Oh yeah, so there have been a lot of things
A
done.
lot
in
of
Beijing.
building. It was just
Yeah.
crazy. But I went to a city where they had built the stadium and all these apartments.
Did you
Everything
make
was,
it out there?
everything was empty. Everything they had 30-story
Yeah.
apartments or condos, not just one or two, multiple, and it was like a ghost town.
Did you make it out the Great Wall? I'm sure.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Walked the Great
The thing,
Wall.
the thing about that was how steep it was.
Oh yeah, I had to sleep in. How many people died?
Yeah.
You know, but it was like was it 1 million people that died when they were trying to build the Great
Yeah,
Wall?
yeah,
It's
well,
like,
the thing here is-
we have so many people, it doesn't matter. Let's get some more people here to build this wall.
And
Yeah.
you know the way they didn't understand marketing because, you know, I mean they would have people on, I guess, at a store there that would stand there, but that was all they did. You know, whereas you went to India, they were always kind of, you know, upselling and
Yeah,
so
well,
different atmosphere.
Yeah, different type of commerce. They are hustling though. If you go to those markets, they beat you up pretty good. That was my pastime.
Yeah.
Go to the markets and negotiate with them on different things that I wanted. It's like
Yeah.
I bought like 20 watches a month. Then I would wear them and I would pick out which ones I was wearing the most. The rest I would send back to friends and different
Okay.
people. Yeah,
So
it was
you-
like, yeah, I got bored. So
Well, you didn't have any bad experiences then, didn't get.
yeah, I had some bad experiences.
Okay.
But mostly good.
Yeah.
Mostly good experience.
Well, we were walking across to eat one time, and there was some. They knew we were Americans, and they started cursing. You know, there's some things, and we kept walking, and then there was some country people that just went over and really got in the face, and I said, "You wouldn't do that in the U.S." You know.
It's so that's what really shocked me. I was in Khmeimim, and this guy, they got in this argument. It was a traffic issue. They get out of their car and they're going at it like I just knew it was about to be a fight. I was like, oh, here it came. It's on now. And they just at some point just stopped. They controlled their emotions. They
Yeah.
got right to the point of really aggressive anger, and that would have never happened here. It would have been an altercation or a shooting, and so that struck me as very how well they control their emotions compared to how we are raised here in the United States. But I like their system of commerce was very interesting.
Yeah.
Because everywhere you look, they were selling, and they understood the business part of everything. But it was still great to get back to the United States.
Yeah.
It was great.
Well, one of the things I wanted to and get it on the video is your connection. I know you've been to Harrison quite a few times, and I think you were up there at the John Paul Hammersmith, the speaker series up there in February. I'd already just moved down here, so I didn't get to sit in on. I always enjoy those sessions, but I know you, Bud Grisham, are longtime friends. He
Oh,
was
yes.
down in Texas, so and really that probably was developing back before they had a lot of I guess ways to fly players, because Harrison had a couple of pilots and planes that would fly the players to games and things, and Tommy Rogers and
Royce.
Barrett.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Royce
Royce
Barrett.
Barrett. I
Right.
I
Tommy
worked with
Rogers.
him on his computer. That's one of my connections there was.
Okay.
We went in there and got service, off the computer. So, yeah, was that really the thing that kind of brought that around as far as your connection to Harrison, or was it? How did you get connected so strongly there? I mean, seeing like,
Well, Bud, number one, Bud was my
Yeah.
tennis partner.
Yeah, 'cause
Someone introduced me to him, and I lived in Dallas. He lived in Dallas, and God, he just wiped the court with me all the time for tennis. You would think he was a great athlete. So
Yeah.
we played tennis, we played golf, and then Tim McFarland, the McFarland family. of
Oh,
course,
yeah.
I know
Yeah,
Tim.
yeah.
We played against Harrison when I was in high school.
yeah, the McFarland family
Yeah.
and overall, they've been out there. So I was wondering if that was.
Yeah, that was it.
Because
So it was Tim and Bud, really.
Yeah, I knew
Both
Tim.
of them.
Tim McFarland kind of organized something for the triplets that one
He
time.
sure did.
That was really nice that they had a tribute over there, and so I remember that. But that was kind of an interesting time there. I was wondering, and I guess the thing I was wanting to get into was some of the things about what's going on with the Razorbacks. Have you had any conversation with Calipari, or is
Oh,
it
no.
no conversation, or nobody?
No, I wrote him to buy books for the players, but I didn't hear back with anybody
Oh,
from anyone.
Hey,
Put them on blast. You know.
We're gonna get him off the bench.
Yeah,
there,
we
maybe.
need to get him off the bench in the game real quick on that one.
Well, what kind of advice would you give him if you ever talked to him? I mean, I don't.
I
know.
wouldn't give him any advice.
Advice?
No, he's coached long enough.
Yeah,
he's a veteran. He knows the advice is get the best players.
Yeah.
Guys that are coachable, and hopefully they stay healthy.
Well,
and win games.
And I know the history of when you came over or stayed in state, and the triplets basically were 3 players in state. And I know the history of the Razorback football, and it's pretty well had to have a core of Arkansas players. I don't see any Arkansas players in this group, and I don't know if that's going to mean anything or if it's just the sign of the times. Or
if they can play, it means a lot.
yeah,
You know,
So if you find something like
yeah,
that-
like Nick Smith was Arkansas, Joe
Yeah.
was Arkansas,
Yeah.
Williams from Arkansas. Joe, we have some great players from the state of Arkansas, but it doesn't guarantee just because they're from the state.
yeah. The
good players
AAU
in
and the
the
things they
state.
kind of go out and play a lot of places.
Yeah, they do. They
and
do.
do a lot of things different.
But it's always good. I guess we used to say, and this is going to be less of an issue moving forward with NIL and the transfer portal.
Uh-huh.
It's no guarantee, even if you get a player from the state nowadays, that they're going to remain at Arkansas, because we've seen that this past year with the transfer portal. Guys want to play. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, they want to. They
wanna
don't want to
play.
sell. They don't want to sell on the bench.
They want to sit on the bench. Yeah, sometimes they're not good enough.
Yeah,
They need to sit
and
on
they
the
got
bench.
to. Yeah, and they have to go somewhere where they
They have
can
to go
play.
somewhere so they can play, and I
Yeah.
think that's an issue that will become more prevalent. I think Calipari has it right when he said that you can only expect a year from guys, pretty much. It's a
Yeah.
year to year with your players. Every year you're going to have to start this process over again because players now have more freedom of movement if they're not playing as much as they think they should be.
Well, that's the other part, and I know we talked a little bit about this last year. Was about the NIL and player transfer, and you said at that time, I guess in your situation, you stayed 4 years, and I think we made the point about maybe one of your most important statistics was that you were the leading rebounder at Arkansas for all 4 years. I mean, freshman all the way through to senior, and you're 6'4", and you were pretty thin. I don't know what your weight was then, but
Yeah, that was unusual because I was 6'4" and 100 pounds lighter than I am now, probably. And players just don't stay long enough to break that particular record.
yeah,
You have to be there at least 3 years. I think there were some players that could have broken the rebound record, career rebound record.
they just didn't stay. But
They
they're
need to stay, and same with scoring record. Of course, Todd Dave eventually broke that record, but it was going to be difficult for someone to break his record because they're not going to stay long enough to do
Yeah.
that. So I think records will be kept longer because of that.
So back in your day, did you see much money being paid to players, or was it just something that's pretty?
Well, if you were at Kentucky, I saw guys from Kentucky.
Kentucky was yeah.
Whereas Kentucky, they got horse races, thoroughbred horse races, and pieces of horse farm, and all that kind of stuff. You know, they were notorious.
So you weren't tempted to go to
I was not
Kentucky?
tempted, yeah, but
Well,
they got
well,
paid. At Arkansas, you had to be a football player to really get played back then. You know, you had to be football. You couldn't be basketball.
Yeah, that was kind of the story. When I was over there in the '60s, is, at Barnell, they had one side where they had temporary bleachers, and they took them out for football practice after, and they didn't really have anybody come to the game until Sutton came over. So it was kind of an interesting time to be there, but to see what happened. And
It was. When I was a rookie, when I was a freshman, it was like that. You had the basketball court, then you had the temporary bleachers, then you had a big area that people would play and just mess around. And nobody seemed to care. I think Coach Sutton cleaned that out
yeah,
after 1 year. We pretty much had, when we had the gym, we had the gym. But before that, when you had the gym for pickup games, especially,
Yeah.
you shared it with
So
students and other
you
people.
never did think about playing football then? Or you was just pretty well basketball all the way through, right?
Well, yeah, I went to a pretty big high school, and you had to really, really know how to play football. Not like now.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was, so I love football. Was my first love. I talk about football in my book,
Yeah.
being what I really like to do, and then I discovered basketball, and the basketball became my first love. But football was what I wanted to play.
Did you think basketball's harder than football to play? I mean, I just played on practice around, but basketball, boy, you got to go up and down
Yeah,
the floor.
basketball, you playing both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and you're playing all the
You're
time.
playing
and-
offense, defense. You have to stay alert. You don't have breaks in between
Yeah.
unless you're on the bench.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to just be ready to
Yeah.
play the entire time. I think basketball is very taxing.
Yeah.
Taxing sport. Physically, no. That's nothing like football.
Yeah, I know. I know.
That's a different level.
Now you were kind of in the NBA at the end of Pete Maravich's time. Did you ever play against Pete, or
I played against Pete, but he was
kind
like,
of? Yeah, he was kind of at the end.
right. He was at the very end.
Yeah,
he sure
and
was.
then you had, of course, Michael Jordan. He came in, and he was pretty well a generational player. Although
yeah.
you had a lot of
Well,
good players.
Yeah, right. Magic was generational.
Yeah.
Larry Bird was generational. Dr. J was generational.
Yeah.
Kareem, Michael was special. But we had a lot of great players during that '80s stretch
Yeah,
that played in the
yeah.
NBA.
Well,
a lot of good players.
you know the big buzz right now, of course, it's drawing the TV eyeballs, I guess, is Caitlin Clark. And now, have you been keeping up with her, or what's going on there?
No, I keep up a little bit with the headlines with the
Yeah.
WNBA in college. Watched her play.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just watching that a little bit. I know my wife never watches hardly any sports, and she's glued to that.
Yeah,
She plays.
yes,
I mean,
yes.
they're getting a new audience, and sometimes they're getting audiences. Probably, I don't know what the NBA ratings are, but I'd say it's kind of tough. I mean, I don't know that I have any teams that I'd really watch. I really like Golden State at times because they had so much on the outside, and it's just
Right,
more of
yeah.
a fun team to watch. But
Yeah.
it's kind of hard for me to, I'll probably tune in when the finals come along, but it's been hard to kind of stay with it. Do you watch it now, or the
I
NBA?
watch a little bit of it, but WNBA in college is not even close to the NBA as far as
Yeah,
watch. For
no,
me, I
no.
can't.
But the
I
NBA itself in the playoffs now, do you watch that?
a little bit, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, now, as far as the Bucks, I mean, they've had one of the highest paid players that's been out there, and I guess
They're struggling. I mean, they had a tough year.
yeah, they had a tough
They
year.
got a little old, got a little slow.
Do you have any contact with any of those people now, or is it kind of just
Not much.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know how that was. So it was kind of. There's a couple of things that I remember from our last conversation about your happy place. And is that still in Mexico, El Cabo?
Yeah.
You still go down here, and
I do. Any place where there's not necessarily water. I have a happy place. I like Two Rivers Park.
okay.
At my happy place. Boyle Park, believe it or not, is my happy place. Washita Mountains, I have a hiking trail, a cattle trail up there. I go there a lot. A lot for me, maybe once
Yeah.
a week, once every 2
Yeah.
weeks, I hike there. I just like outdoors in Arkansas mostly.
Now I was looking at a little video, and I know you had hip replacement surgery. Is that what you had? When was that?
Yeah, my second hip surgery revision was October 19, 2023.
But you haven't done
Recently.
anything with your knees or anything, or
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, my knees are due to be replaced.
Yeah.
I had stem cell, and for my left knee. And
Yeah.
it certainly has helped. That was 5 years ago.
Yeah, well-
I'm still going, but at some point. it will
Well,
be-
the one thing that I was kind of pretty surprised at was when we were talking. I said, "Well, you walk, but do you ever run?" And you said, "No, you didn't run." And I guess I saw you were kind of having a little faster pace than some of your walking now.
yeah, I had a moment. We have our moments where we think we can do more than what we can do.
Yeah, yeah.
I had one last Sunday.
Did you?
Where I had a good pace walking and running.
Well, I saw the video.
2.5 miles.
So that you're getting close.
Yeah. Oh no, I can right now. I could actually jog, not very far, but I can jog.
Well,
for a minute.
you know, when I remember the videos and stuff, that's what I remember, how fast you were up and down the floor. So,
Yeah,
so it's kind of.
Well, with the hip replacement, it's been a little slower, and it's still painful. Like when I did what I did on Sunday,
Yeah.
I felt it on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, well, the other thing I was kind of curious about, we talked about a couple of games. Of course, the one in New Mexico, Albuquerque, I think is when you beat UCLA, and that was when the triplets kind of came alive. And then later on, toward the end, I guess it was the end, when you played Larry Bird and you got beat by kind of a crazy off I don't know, off the wrong foot and threw it up in the wrong hand or something. But I was reading back on that, and you know, Larry, you were covering Larry Bird, and he apparently didn't get the last shot like they thought they would. But you also said that if there's any game in college that you'd like to have a do-over on, that would have been it. Is that still what you think about college, or as far as that game, or is that game?
Probably Kentucky though would be.
Oh, the year before in the
Right.
Final Four.
Mhm.
Yeah, because that was that. And do you think anything in particular about that game could have been done different?
Well, I got in foul trouble,
Okay.
so maybe I wouldn't foul so much the second time around. And it took away our ability to be aggressive and utilize our speed
Yeah.
because the game was slowed down by fouls, and that's
I'd heard that one thing was the doctor, is it Dr. Couch or Dr.
Dr. Counts.
Counts, yeah. And that he was really good about the passing lanes, and some way they got that kind of cut off or something. That was kind of a defensive thing that was kind of a factor in that game. I don't know.
And he got hurt that game, I think.
Did he?
Jimmy
Okay, well,
There's a lot of things that went against us.
Yeah.
They were a good team, but we had a shot
We're-
only if we could have utilized our speed and not play a slow down half court game as much. Contrary to what people think about Coach Sutton, he said, well, slow down, pass. He let us play however he felt we were able to play, which was, in our case, we played a pretty fast pace.
Yeah. Well, of course, I had a little bit of connection there. My high school coach was J.B. Dickey, and his son James Dickey, of course, was pretty well connected there through the years. And I was doing a little bit of a pitch for him coming in because he's up in West Virginia to do something with Calipari, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But you know, he's got a lot of connections in this whole region because I guess he's in the Big 12 with West Virginia, but I know he's been going back and forth between there and still Oklahoma.
home,
So
right.
yeah, he's home there. So
Yeah,
I don't know what's ever going to happen there, but that was kind of an interesting thing too. I didn't know, you know, far as that. But one of the things I wanted to do, and I wanted to get kind of into your book, and I know we're going to try to do this within an hour, and I may have a couple of guys here that might read it. There's some books there if you want to borrow them, but you might look at parts of the book there and see if there's anything that you want to ask questions on, because what I wanted to do to start with is on page 30, and I'm going to let Sid read that because he can pick up where he wants to. That was the part where you
I don't
got,
have my glasses.
Okay, well,
Let's see.
we can do that.
Yeah.
The dog, the story about the doghouse and about how that came about. You can just tell about it if you want to. You don't have to.
Yeah. In the book, I talk about situations where, as an athlete, when I was growing up, that I had gotten into that either put me on the bench or how I got off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
And I paralleled that with the workplace. Same principles, even though sports. And in this one passage, I talk about being in the doghouse because Coach Elders was our head coach, and we were sophomores. My brother George, Tommy, and I, every morning we would go into the canteen. It was called the canteen, and we would get a soda, chips. It was in the morning, just a little snack for the morning. And Coach Elders was always hyping us up. There are my Greyhound guys, champions, blah 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 blah. And we would say good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. But this particular morning, I don't know what was on my mind. Coach Elders in the neighborhood was known as OB. That was his nickname,
Yeah.
OB. That's all I never heard Coach Elders. I heard OB this, OB that. And so that morning we go into the canteen, and George said, "Hey, Coach Elders." He was just nod. And Tommy, my best friend, said, "Hey, Coach Elders." He nod. And then I said, "Hey, OB." That got me. He said, "Son, that's being disrespectful. You'll never play for me." But that kind of attitude, he just dressed me down.
Yeah.
And I learned a valuable lesson. And I definitely was in the doghouse for a short period of time.
Were you thinking just because he didn't play sophomores that you thought you'd be a little bit catch his attention, or what was your?
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
You just did.
I'm a guy. I just did something stupid. I just don't know why I did it. We always claim that. I don't know.
Well,
Why I did it.
yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting story there because of what it. But
It's a great story because he went on to, of course, be a Hall of Fame coach, won a lot of championships, and that was the moment that he got my attention as it relates to how to. And I was brought up respectful. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
no, sir. So that was so out of my character to do something different than what I did during that time.
He said his teams were known for their precision in executing their patient, fast break offense. The team also had a reputation for precise ball and player movement.
Oh yeah, it was
So that-
beautiful basketball. I was in junior high school, and Booker was maybe a half a mile from Hall High School. I mean, from Booker Junior High School. And Booker, Johnny Greenwood, great coach, was my coach, and Coach Elders was a harsh man. So they were like close. And one time he took us to a high school game, junior high school players, not very good players. It's okay, not anything great. And I never forget, it was a small gym, but the gym was sold out. The players, the ball movement, setting picks, execution. Coach Elders was so cool, dressed very well, just kind of gave hand signals, never got ruffled, never yelled at players or yelled at officials. And it was probably some of the most beautiful basketball I had seen up until that time, because I hadn't really seen a lot of competitive games, especially not on that level. And that game just had an impact on how the game of basketball could be played, the level. That you think you're a good junior high school player, no, this is another level that you need to understand that's out there, that you have to get to that level at some point.
So that kind of coaching, and then later on with Sutton, you just had a lot of good coaches, it looks like.
I had a lot of good coaches. Coach Elders took us to to UAPB versus Grambling. So I'm a high school kid. We go to UAPB Fieldhouse, and they're playing Grambling University, and that was a whole new level there. I mean, these guys had a 7-footer. They had a couple of NBA guys playing, and UAPB had a good team, and the gym was bigger.
Yeah.
And as I like to say, they were balling out. I mean, it was like high quality basketball. And then Coach Ripley would take me to all the a lot of AIC games back then. So we saw Henderson State a lot, UCA, Hendrix, you name it. So I saw quality basketball my entire high school career.
Well, good.
And so sometimes players don't see that and they think they're better than what they are. But when you see players that are better than you, it makes you realize you needed to get off the bench, get in the game, and step up your game a little bit more.
Did you ever hear of school at Valley Springs?
I've heard of Valley Springs. Well, we played Harrison in high school, and they passed the ball 40 times before they shot. The score was 6-2 or something. I don't know. It was a really low scoring halftime game.
Well,
it was really low.
My son just walked in a while ago, and he went to Valley, and I did too, but he runs marathons and a lot of things
my
now.
goodness,
But now, the thing I have over in high school is I played on a team that won the state championship, and so that's something you kind of
I never won the state championship. We were in the finals against Central and lost that game.
Yeah.
That was as close as we came.
My role was to get the ball to the guy that could score, and that's kind of where we get to, and we're going to talk a little bit about this. Is you got some stars and you got role players, but you got to figure out how to make that all work. And I know that's some of the things you've been doing in your plan is there to do that. But getting back to the coaches, and we saw this in Kansas City Chiefs, and of course they won the Super Bowl, but there were some things right on the field where there were players that were getting up in the face of the coach, Coach Reed, and that seems to be something that we see today. And I wanted to kind of contrast that with what you were talking about, has what we're seeing now, that sometimes it works, but it's probably not a good image. So
no, it's not a good image, but it's not a good image for coaches to overcoach.
Okay, that's what you think might be happening sometimes. They don't get.
You get too cute, or you try. Your best player should be in the game.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed. So when you try to get cute and put someone else in the game to create a illusion or deception, no. All he was saying was, I didn't agree with how he said it. All he was saying was, I'm one of your best players. I should be in the game. I should be in the game with that play. And he was right. And I think the coach recognized that Yeah, I should have had I should have had him in the ball game. Yeah.
Hey,
How you doing?
with the
Good to see you.
I'm Don Johnson.
Mr.
Yeah,
Johnson.
I'm
Good
from
to see
Harrison,
you. All right.
hey,
John
good to see
Springs,
you.
actually.
Hey,
Yeah.
good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, we're kind of moving along here, but then again, from that, I was just kind of curious, as far as how it's changed, but how the players. I was looking a little bit about your, the 20 years difference between you and Joe Johnson. I don't know. Do you ever have any contact?
You can see this. It's easy to find on the internet, so I'll let you do that.
With Joe Johnson?
No,
Okay.
no.
Yeah, he was 20 years later, but your statistics are almost identical all the way through. I mean, he's 6'7" and you're 6'4", and your rebounds are about the same,
Right.
scoring thing. And that 20 years difference was quite a bit difference in salary. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I guess the TV and everything made the
Uh-huh.
difference,
Yes.
but he had one spell there, I guess, with Atlanta where he's a top paid NBA star, as far as
Yes.
that goes. But that was kind of interesting how some of those things came about. And,
Yes. And Joe Johnson, hands down, best high school player I've seen.
Really?
Yeah.
He was-
Ron Brewer was good. I'm sure Michael Cage and Keith Lee. I didn't see them play a lot, but I was coaching at Euler when Joe Johnson was playing at Central. I had just gotten a job, and I went to watch Central play someone in the championship. And I was watching him play. It was like a college kid playing against junior high school kids.
Yeah.
That's how precise in his basketball IQ and his movements. He was just so. I'm like.
Now, who was the
that's
coach
just-
at Central when?
Fitzpatrick.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the
I was with him or someone, and he was talking about how Richardson was trying to hide Joe Johnson, keep him from, I guess, moving on as a sophomore. He was trying to play him, but he was trying not to expose him too much so that he would
Stay there, huh?
Yeah, stay there. So I guess there's a lot of games played there, but that's a different deal. So one of the other things I wanted to hit on was in your book, you talk about the art.
But that doesn't sound like Coach Richardson. Let me just.
No,
clarify
yeah,
that.
I think he really kind of.
Yeah, that's.
I think that was just a high
Right.
school coach talking
Yeah,
about. The
Yeah, sometimes you can, and sometimes we know coaches know players better than, because we see what's going on in practices, and we watch film.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times a player might look like they're better than they are, or people wonder why they're not playing.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned to trust, because I coached before, so I learned you trust the head, you trust those coaches because they know their players better than we do as fans. We only see them in game time. They see them game time, practice time, they see their attitudes, they watch film where they see them again and again and again. They see their defensive mistakes, they see their brain locks. On offense, they see everything we don't see. And if a kid is not playing, it's for a reason. They're just not the best player to play.
Yeah.
That's typically the reason.
No,
Because what coach want to lose?
no,
Right. Yeah, you're going to play your best players, and that's
well, the other thing kind of comes out of that, and a little bit. That's the other comparison with Joe Johnson. He did go to Boston, and he went to Phoenix, and then I think he went back to Atlanta, and,
Oh, yeah.
and he went into some pretty big markets for value anyway. And I know we've talked about this a little bit. The smaller market, and you can say Fayetteville, and then you can say going to Milwaukee. What do you think would have been different? Or I know that you probably were happy with what happened, or you probably could have made some moves because of your talent. But do you think there's anything, if you reflect back on that, putting yourself out and maybe going into the bigger? There was a lot of people, I think, that came through Milwaukee and then went to LA or somewhere. But you feel like,
Oh yes. If I had not been in Milwaukee, another coach might not have taken advantage of my inside scoring ability like Nelly did. He put me in a position to be successful. So I can't imagine being any more successful than I was at Milwaukee. Now all the other things, very few players get big tennis shoes endorsements and commercials. That's a limited group of individuals. But no, I don't see any.
So did you have any tennis shoe things when you were
Oh,
there?
just minor
Minor
things,
stuff.
minor stuff.
Well, I was looking at the highest paid athletes now, and the I can't say his name. The guy from Milwaukee is one of the top in the top 10. It's pretty big,
Oh, he's big. They have big numbers.
and they're getting money, I guess, to pay people like that now. And
Yeah, they do. They do.
Yeah.
I remember when Joe Johnson was drafted, I was with the Mavericks, I think, and I remember telling them that I told a friend of mine he's going to be an all-star.
yeah.
I said he's going to be an all-star player. I told the Mavericks because they couldn't get him because I said, yeah, if you get a chance to draft him, draft him. Then he went to Phoenix after Boston, I think. And a friend of mine from Phoenix said, I can't believe they got this Joe Johnson guy, blah, blah, blah. I said, no. I said, he's going to be the best player.
Yeah, yeah, he was.
A year later, he was 2 years. He was their best player, but there are not many players that I can say, look back and say, wow, that Ron Brewer was one, Joe Johnson was another one that you just had unique talent
Right.
in high school, and they looked like they were older, more mature, better basketball IQ than the players on the basketball court. Totally different.
Well, he had a lot of years, and I don't know, because he had some injuries. He ended up about 20 years, but about 16, 17 years where he was playing a lot.
Oh yeah, no, he's
And
put
I
on
just
some-
looked at the numbers, and you can run a thing on the internet and just compare the players, and it was just how close you all were, just in the averages of everything there, and of course him being 3 inches taller and heavier, and you still were out rebounding it, because that was the thing that you always were able to do, is out rebound. So
and defense.
yeah,
They don't show defense.
Oh,
on
yeah.
you know?
That's-
Yeah, they don't know.
They don't, yeah, and
What do you have? You might have something you want to read, you think?
Well, I wanted to ask you about Coach Greenwood. You said listen to your leaders. Coach Greenwood making you wear that jacket.
Oh yeah. I spoke to him not long ago, and I remember a really skinny kid, obviously back then in 9th grade. I was at Dunbar Junior High School, went there 7th and 8th grade, and didn't play very much at all. Just not a very good player. So I go to Booker, and I guess he saw something in me I didn't see, quite frankly, because he had me wear this. He had me do track, do high jumping. Okay, that didn't work out well. And then he put this weight jacket on me with some other bigger players, and we had to jog in the weight jacket, do a mile or whatever. Then in practice, I had to wear the weight jacket in practice, the entire practice, the weight jacket. And not only was it heavy, it didn't fit. Like now, the weight jackets are like really tight. They're not hitting your body. You don't know you have them on except the weight. They're flopping around, trying to rebound, trying to shoot. And I'm like, what the heck is he doing this for? What's going on? And what I said in my book is he was trying to number one, get me stronger. And he knew if he got me stronger, I would have more confidence in my play. And sure enough, that first year, I went from being like one of the worst players. I was maybe the second or third best player on that team. And it was because of what he did for me as a basketball player. Yeah, just timing is everything, right? The timing, the coaches. I just been blessed with good coaches, just from junior high school all the way through the NBA.
But I like what you said also about you have to be coachable. So you can have good coaches, but if you're not coachable,
Yeah, and when you're not coachable, when you really think you're a great player, because great players, even in the NBA, you become uncoachable to some extent because you already know so much, or you think you know so much, right? But you don't know as much as someone watching film every day and seeing all the flaws and all the ways you can take advantage. But what I find is people that are uncoachable in high school or college or junior high school is because along the way someone has told them that you're good. So why do you have to listen to anyone else? But with Coach Greenwood, during that time you had to listen to your coach. You didn't have an AAU team to run to. That was it. So if the coach said you're off the team, you're off the team. You know, you're not going to go to this AAU team and play for someone. You're not going to this intramural team. You're not playing basketball, period. It's a different type of pressure if you were a player when that held over you. So if the coach said jump, you said how high? Run through the wall. Which one? You're just trying to do what they asked you to do. Yeah.
One of the other things that I want to talk about, and if you all have some questions, we're going to give you a chance here in a minute. And if you want to look at a book or something, then
What do you have?
So I've watched.
He's a
So
Kentucky
this is
fan.
a weird late '70s basketball question.
Okay.
So I've watched like the HBO Showtime Lakers show, and it looks like the NBA in the late '70s, early '80s was just like insane.
Yeah, it's good.
But like from what I've seen with how you played, like you were so focused, and like I mean, you're considered one of the best perimeter defenders in basketball. Like I'm what I've seen, but how did you stay focused with all like the chaos that kind of was at least on TV presented that was going
Yeah.
on in the early '80s?
Yeah, I tell you what was good. Early '80s was it's nothing more distracting than social media.
Yeah.
So
Sure, yeah.
let's get that really clear and clean. Well, these players today it's insane what they have to go
Yeah.
through. But in the NBA in the '80s, you had the cocaine drug
Yeah.
issue during that time, and serious drug issues, and then you didn't have the travel conveniences that you have now. You didn't have the meal prep. You ate whatever you ate.
Yeah.
Not that you couldn't afford to eat. But I think, let's go back to junior high school, focus.
Yeah.
Had to be. High school, Coach Elders, 3 years, focus. 4 years with Coach Eddie Sutton,
Yeah.
same thing. It became a habit for me to be locked in. But even as a kid, I was an aggressive kid. I
Yeah.
fought a lot, and I just like competed really hard. And I think it was partly how I grew up.
Okay.
I wasn't a bully or anything, but I defended myself a lot, and I loved to play football because it was aggressive. You were tackling people. You know, we didn't play flag football back then. You know, it was like tackle football. We even played tackle football on the street one time. Think about that. In the street, we
Yeah.
played tackle.
That'd be hard.
One time.
One time.
I was like all scratched up, like, no, we're not doing this again. So I think everything I did growing up was about focus and toughness. And then it was reinforced at Arkansas, at Hall High School, junior high school, and then the NBA. Well, I lock in, like when I said, okay, I'm writing a book. And I say, I'm going to write this book in 6 weeks or 4 weeks. It's done. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why I've written, and they're simple books. I don't brag about the size of my books, but it takes a little bit of energy. I've written like 3 books in less than 2 years. And that was all because I had a thought. I had something I wanted to solve. I had something I wanted to get out to people. And I locked in and did the books and got it done. And that focus comes in again. Because all the other time, I'm just having fun with life. You know, in between, enjoying life. That's right.
All right, Cindy and Don, you got something? Yeah, I know you got something you want to ask.
I'm not good at asking questions.
Well, yeah, you're from North Carolina. He's got a North Carolina State.
Nice Arkansas.
Yeah, well, I know you were out there though.
That was
You're a
North
doc.
Carolina
He's a doctor. He's a doctor in bugs,
Entomology.
entomology. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm from the North Carolina State,
Oh,
and
wow.
during that time I was there, I got to watch them the year they won the national championship the first time. And it's 74 or 5.
74 or 5. Oh, you David Thompson team.
David Thompson.
Yeah.
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 The short guy and the tall guy.
Right. Burleson.
Burleson and
Monty Tall.
Monty Town. He came down to Louisiana.
See, I'm not even from North Carolina.
I left Arkansas, and I went to school. I graduated in '71 before your time.
Uh-huh.
And Bobby Watts, I think, from Harrison played on the team.
Donnie Watts.
Donnie.
Donnie Watts. Yeah.
Yeah, he played on the team, and we went over to my wife, not her, another one. She passed away.
She passed away. Yeah, I know.
She was, let's go watch Donnie play basketball. So we went up there to Marnia, and it's just one side had seats. The other side was dirt.
Yeah, those were the days.
And so we walked in there and took an ID and got in. Where are you going to sit? You want higher or lower? Between wherever you
Right.
you
Take
can
your
find
pick.
it. Yep.
Take your
And,
pick.
he was an interesting boss. He was kind of slow.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I was in high school watching that team play. And I saw David Thompson, maybe,
Oh, he could jump.
I saw him, we were doing an autograph session in Chicago. So Chicago, maybe, what's this? That was maybe in December, maybe? So I went up to him, I see him occasionally. I said, I just want to let you know, I said, I had never told you this, but when I was in high school, I had a jersey, and he was number 44 or 33, I forgot which one, but I had a jersey, and it was, I think it was 44, and I don't know if I had Dr. S on the back because of Dr. J, right? But I was more like David Thompson,
Yeah.
so he was a I was a big fan of David Thompson and that team.
They were good.
They were good.
I enjoyed watching them.
They could
It was
play.
quite a change going from Arkansas to North Carolina State.
Yes.
Because we went to watch it, it was like a bowl game. It just massive people everywhere, and they had a noise meter in the middle. You know.
Wow. Yeah, that was some good times. We played North Carolina when I was a senior
Yeah.
at their place. It was on a Sunday. I remember that. They ended up beating us. We had a good team.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
remember the Four Corners offense?
I remember Fulcrum Field Ford. He played with me at Milwaukee for a minute. Sure did. Yep.
Craig, you got anything? You know,
Just remember that iconic cover. Did you talk about it?
yeah,
Oh,
we had
yeah.
we had a guy here a while ago that had one and had signed it. So got that.
Yeah, the backdrop to that cover, I was having knee problems my senior year. Into my entire senior year, I was having knee problems. And I didn't practice much because of the pain. And the team doctor gave me some exercises that I later found out contributed to the pain. You know, I was like, he was giving me exercises that were not the right exercises. I was wondering why I wasn't getting better.
Yeah.
But then when I get to the NBA, they tell me, what type of exercise? I showed them. They said, oh, you can't do that with this type of condition. But that cover, when I went up to dunk, I had a really sharp pain when I pushed off from Contra Malaysia. And if you look at it, it's an expression on my face, and people say, boy, you really look intense, blah, 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 blah. And I started to guys, no, I was really in pain. I was really in pain when I went up for that dunk shot. And I didn't remember that until years later, because I signed so many of the covers. Then I remember years later, I said, oh, that's right. You had the knee problem. And when you went up, I remember going up in a sharp pain, just locked in there, and I was like grimacing when I dunked the basketball. And so that was, yeah, the cover was pretty interesting.
Well, I know that your I guess your book is Get Off the Bench. You know, this bench here is pretty tough.
Pretty, yeah, that's a good, great example.
It's not like these cushy chairs that these people. But I think, and one of the ideas I had here was, of course, people with disabilities or seniors or other people that might not be motivated, and you could have unmotivated church members, I guess. You know, if the preacher doesn't just stay right after them, or other people that's out there. I was wanting to let you give your best pitch. I know when you get focused on something, boy, you take off and you do it, and I know just being around you and just it gets me off the bench and gets me doing something. That's what I've been doing with this podcast that I've been doing and other things that I said that there's a thing to get other people involved and what's your pitch? I mean, that's part of the book, and I just thought maybe we could kind of go through that as we kind of wrap up here.
I started thinking that there's so much that happens when you're involved in action, right? There's so many positive things that can happen. And a lot of times, I say in the book that sometimes people don't want to get off the bench because they're afraid of failure. They don't want to fail, right? And that's just part of life is failing. So when I wrote the book, it was like, I want something that will encourage people to get up and be involved, to impact others, and to live their best life. We talk about living your best life now. And the bench, I say in the workplace, the house, or in the game, there are people that are starters, there are the top 20% of the people in the workplace do, as we know, 80% of the work. And so they're the starters. And then you have people that are bench warmers, like I was. And they're bench warmers where they want to get off the bench, but they just need to improve their skill set to do that. And then you have people that are bench warmers, and they could care less about getting off the bench. They're frightened to get off the bench. They just want to let everybody do the work and just observe. And then you have the fifth type of people. You have the people that I call them sideline dwellers. And those are the individuals that should not even be wherever they are. They just want to cause conflict and problems, and they're sideline dwellers. They shouldn't even be in that family or in that game or with that company or whatever, with that team. They're the people you want to get rid of very, very quickly. But most people want to participate and be a part of whatever's going on, be it in the workplace or at home or on a sports team. And I also talk about how you just have to, I want people to know you have to get better to do that. And you have to keep getting better. I use the example today is I went from junior high school being a starter, off the bench playing, and what happens when I go to high school? Back on the bench, because now I'm just a sophomore. So I had to get better, got better in high school, became a starter, All-American, blah, 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 blah. Go to college, what happens? You end up what? On the bench. So I had to take another level to get better, to get off the bench. Then I become an All-American in Arkansas, play well, do great things, blah, 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 blah. And then you get to the NBA, where do I end up? On the bench again. And I had to get better, get off the bench. So it's a continual process. If you want to be great at what you do, you have to just keep understanding that it's always someone. It's like training camp. When training camp starts and you are NBA All-Star, how many players want to take your place? So if I just sat there pat and just didn't try to get better, which I actually stopped getting better at some point because I just didn't want to get better. I just didn't have the same commitment, and I had played too long and all those type things. And when that happened, boom, I just started going the other way. So get off the bench, get in the game. It's really a mindset, and everything that you do in your life, be it your family, a team, workplace, a church, whatever, a team, definitely. You just need to have that mentality to get off that sidelines. If it's going to be get off your blank, get in the game. And I had a discussion. Some people loved it. I had a discussion. I had a little group chat with some of my former teammates, and they said, "No, I don't think you should put that on there." So I'm like, okay. So I just said, get off the bench, get in the game, because it's just a mindset.
Well, I know that one of the things you've kind of talked about with coaches, that they kind of saw your talent, and sometimes, whoever the coach is and whoever the leadership is they've got to understand, maybe ask some questions and listen so that they understand. They may see in basketball or something, but they're in a workforce, or like I said, with people that older or disability, sometimes you're sitting there and they may not ever get involved unless somebody else takes an interest and ask them questions.
Yeah.
And
you got to push them. I had a group of high school kids that I go and do a lesson for them on entrepreneurship once a month. And yesterday we were wrapping it up. They were doing posters of what they want their future to look like, where they're going to graduate high school, where they're going to college, or where they're going to have their next job. And they kind of slop through it. Every week they slop through it. And yesterday was the day we gave out gift cards. And so they got a little focus. And I just kept pushing them. They would have something. I'm finished. I said, well, maybe add more color here. Maybe do more here. Make it more color. Make it more. I can't see these. I can't see this. Make it so it's more visible. And when they finished, they had a couple beautiful work of art that they had done, and it was totally different from what they had when they started the class yesterday. I just told them, I said, see what happens when you push yourself. You can do more than what you think you can do when you push yourself to do it. And always reach for greatness. I said, just reach for greatness. And that's our young people are brilliant. They're just looking for someone to push them. I had two groups. I had this lady in North Little Rock. It's two girls that was in the class earlier, And she said, well, when you come, I don't let them come to the class. And she said, they say you're too mean. And I said, well, the world is going to be a lot meaner than I am
Yeah.
if you're not doing A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
And so when I go into adults or students, it's a standard. And I don't compromise my standard of respect, listening, doing things you should do, doing activities you should do. I won't compromise that. So I tell them, if you want to leave, you can leave. I mean, but you're not going to disrupt what we're doing for these other people. I thought it was kind of funny. To them, having high standards was being mean, which means that they've been in an environment that has not had high standards, and they've been able to do whatever they wanted to do. And what I try to tell them is life, the world's not like that.
Yeah.
The world doesn't treat you very well when you don't do things that you're asked to do. So I have a lot of fun.
Yeah, one of the things, and you touched on in the book, and I don't really know exactly what your thought, when you got into the automobile business, you said that wasn't really, turned out it wasn't your passion, but it was something you wanted to, that you saw that could make money, and people make those kind of, that's the other part is what do you think? I know, and I looked at it from a business standpoint, starting a business and how do do that. Is there something different? I know you said you're just 30-year-old and you got out there and you kind of got into a different environment. So,
Yes.
So what do you think in those situations? What do you think you would tell the 30-year-old Sidney Moncrief today that you know now that you didn't know then, and what your experience? Because we know that everybody goes through that situation at certain times. So I just
Yeah. And what we don't tell them is discover your passion and go for it right away, because you really don't know your passion.
Yeah.
Most people don't really know their passion at 30.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes people do, but most people don't.
Oh,
Yeah. So you tell them just to have solid principles, get better at what you're doing, be resilient, grow and get better every day in everything you do, put forth effort in everything you do. So you give them we give them grit, like on the shirt, growth, resilience, intentionality, and tenacity. That's what we tell everybody, every workshop. Those are the fundamentals of being successful. And if you take those in everything you do and just do it like that, and then your passion at some point will come to you. My passion is really coaching and teaching people.
yeah.
It wasn't really running a dealership, and I didn't know that until I was in my 50s. It took that long for me to realize that. And someone said, well, go with your passion. Well, my passion was basketball, but it really wasn't coaching basketball.
Yeah.
It was coaching people.
Right.
And it could have been in basketball, it could have been in entrepreneurship, it could have been in building your team or leadership. A lot of ways you can coach people.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to realize that.
One of the things, and we'll kind of wrap it up here, but I was watching the speech that Jerry Seinfeld made to Duke, and it got distracted because of some other issues, but it's really a great speech, and it's talking about what some of the things you're saying is people don't really, he said there's a lot of students that really don't know what they're going to do, and they're probably the best students coming out right now. But it was important that, he talked about a discomfort, and that's really what I wanted to get into a little bit. And what I'm doing is sometimes when you have these kind of things like Parkinson's and your personality, I kind of joke about it going a little more from an introvert to an extrovert, and maybe when you're in the Ozarks and you may be a closet extrovert because you're doing something with technology and nobody, they think maybe you still work CIA and you're running around here and there. So you kind of have people have a different opinion. But when you get older, it's a different issue. But the discomfort level of being around people and trying to change or do things is kind of challenging, because it's a tough situation, as you can imagine.
It is. And I just don't hold myself guilty if people don't succeed from what I say.
Yeah.
Because I give them information. I tell people now in my workshops, I say, if you want to be average or below average, go for it. right? I'm not trying to, if you don't really have the passion to be better than what you are, I'm not mad at you. That's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. And I can't be responsible for someone's success. I am responsible for giving them good information to be successful.
Yeah.
And when people come to me and say, well, is this sustainable? Will they remember? I was like, it just depends how good your staff is. It's just, it's like, if you have a good staff, you've hired the right people, then this will evoke change. If you haven't, then it won't. That's the bottom line.
Well, I've been going through a lot of therapy, and basically it's not necessarily what you do then, it's what you do when you leave, and it's,
that's
if
right.
you don't do those things, and it's not going to help. So
Absolutely, and that's
so,
on them.
Yeah.
It's on them. That's their responsibility.
Yeah, and that's what you're saying here, and
Yeah.
you can give them some good principles and ideas, and it's really on them to do that.
I don't motivate, I inspire. Motivation, it takes inspiration and motivation to be successful. Motivation comes within, inspiration comes outside to you. But at some point you need to take that inspiration that comes to you and put it in you and motivate yourself to do great things. And I learned that concept 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
Takes the pressure off.
Well, and the thing I like, and I guess is, I guess we kind of developed a friendship, but it is really important that you have people that you can talk to, and it's been great to kind of develop this friendship even further, and I appreciate the time you've taken today, and hopefully we could sell some books some places.
Yeah,
and-
we'll sell. This book has been doing very well. My best. I've been promoting it more. It's been my best book so far.
Really, I think, I think they're doing a good job of that,
Yes.
and I really think just the title itself is really something. Yeah, put it out there.
It is. That's the title. Get off the bench. We have ink pens. We have T-shirts, and I just decided this was going to be the book that I promote because it's really
Go
the
ahead.
first book.
You're gonna have to get some shirts and caps or something there, I guess.
I have shirts, but I don't inventory shirts or caps. People say that all the time. You end up with a lot of inventory that you paid for. But we'll have caps to give away in our workshops and different things.
Yeah, we're gonna edit some of this, but I think that there's a lot of good points. And anybody else have any time or discussion?
But
or-
spread the word. They can go. They can go online.
I know we got a preacher there that's dozing a little bit.
So, okay, how do we buy your book? Do we
From the front, yes.
would you sign them?
Yes.
Or-
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll sign them.
Yes.
All right, good deal. All right.
I sign it and you take it up.
All right.
There
Anybody else have anything, Don? You got any more?
I was gonna
Okay,
say-
Cindy, you got something.
Just a comment. I remember when I was in high school,
Uh-huh.
late high school.
Which-
my mom, well, first
which
of all,
high school?
Harrison.
Harrison, okay.
My
The
mom played-
Goblins.
My mom played basketball for Valley Springs back when they had girls playing half court.
I remember those days.
And she was the top scorer. Her average was 18 points a game.
Without 3-point line. It's
And so
pretty
she
impressive.
got the girls athletic award. And my dad, he played for Bruno High School. And every time the Razorback basketball team was on, it was all about Sidney Moncrief. And
Oh,
all
that's
week, it was all about Sidney Moncrief. And if you had anything else to say, there was no talking. You just had to talk about Sidney Moncrief. So
That's pretty impressive.
That was a great memory.
Yeah, sometimes we forget those type things,
This
and
was
that's
to Craig.
always nice to hear. Yeah.
Well,
They were your number one fans.
yeah, she just passed, and she's a great friend.
I included a clip at the end from Heather Kennedy. It gives more the psychological, not the Michael J. Fox impact of Parkinson's.
In planes, trains, and automobiles, Steve Martin and John Candy are careening down the highway, and someone on the other side of the median, who happens to be going the right way, is yelling, "You're going the wrong way!" To which John Candy famously replies, "How do they know which way we're going?" This reminds me so much of Parkinson's. We may seem entirely abnormal, as in abby-normal. Is there a brain that's normal? Because we might be doing things a different way. We call it creative adaptation. And just like the Seal song goes, you have to be a little crazy to survive Parkinson's. You have to have moxie and grit. You have to have perseverance. You have to be pretty brave. You have to have some courage, some tenacity. And it's okay to go outside the box, to be the outlier, to think about things. This adaptation, this creative adaptation, is kind of one of the things that saves us. So this invitation to do things differently, this invitation for creative adaptation is actually a tremendous gift. It helps us to release fear and expectation. We can't simultaneously be frozen in fear and also living. And what do we want? We want more life. Our timeline feels finite. The tick-tock boom of watching our timeline get smaller in terms of our capacities and our capabilities, that's not for someone faint of heart. And it's also not easy to be around.